This is the Martini Mortgage Podcast with Kevin Martini.
Hello and welcome. I am Kevin Martini. I'm the branch manager and senior mortgage strategist with the Martini Mortgage Group at Benchmark Mortgage. Every year, I share my predictions, or if you prefer, my forecast. So let's call this the 2019 Kevin Martini forecast. Let's start with talking about stocks. In January 2018, I shared stocks looked vulnerable and there was a potential of a pullback. This was spot on and 100% correct. Clearly, stocks were vulnerable and did pull back significantly at the end of 2018. In 2019, it is my opinion there's a ton of things going on. Is there a possible trade war with China? Will the U.S. economy slow down? Will there be another stock market pullback? And if so, how will that impact housing and mortgage rates? Here is a hashtag Kevin Martini thought. I believe there will be a more normal stock market in 2019. However, stocks will be choppy, especially in the first part of the year. See, they have to find their groove, and I think they will find their groove. In 2019, it should bring a 5 to 8% return in the markets. I also believe that stock market rise will put pressure on mortgage rates, but will help housing because of the wealth effect. Right now, Americans have a good portion of their wealth in the stock market, and they have more money in the market today than they have ever had before. When the stock market declines, the wealth effect makes you feel less confident to go out and buy a car or a house. However, when the stock market regains its footing, people feel wealthier, and I believe this helps housing in 2019. Now let's talk about the Federal Reserve. In 2018, I called for tame inflation, and I was 100% correct on the topic of tame inflation. I also shared the Fed would be reducing their balance sheet, and I projected 1 to 2 hikes in 2018. I was close. However, I missed slightly. The balance sheet was reduced and they stopped reinvestment. However, there were 4 hikes in 2018. Every meeting will now have a press conference. How the Fed has the right to change its rate whenever they want to. However, historically, they've only changed rates when there was a press conference. The Fed has shared they're going to have a press conference after every meeting. This adds a ton of speculation and volatility when they meet. As I look at the Fed dot plot, the dot plot is simply a statistical chart that consists of data points plotted as dots on a graph. Based on my interpretation of the dot plot, I see 2 hikes in 2019. I believe they have a targeted fund rate of 3%. I also see a reduction of their balance sheet to the tune of $50 billion a month. I do see higher inflation since there is wage pressure in this market, and I expect higher oil prices in 2019. Here is a hashtag Kevin Martini Live talking point. I feel there will be a pause between the 2 hikes in 2019, and this pause will be an important catalyst to give the stocks some momentum. Remember, historically, when stocks do well, home loan rates worsen. Now let me shift to talk about home loan rates. I shared the yield curve would flatten in 2018, and the yield curve did flatten. It went up from 0.51 to 0.11, so I was right on the money as it relates to the yield curve. On mortgage rates, I thought they would be about 0.5% higher on average, and the 10-year would trade between 2.65 and 3.04. I called it properly. For 10 months of 2018, the 10-year traded between 2.65 and 3.04, and mortgage rates rose about 0.5%. Inflation is the nemesis to bonds, and mortgage rates live in the bond market. I believe there will be higher inflation and because of wage increasing and my thoughts of higher oil prices. I see higher inflation. Now, there is no longer going to be quantitative easing, In other words, the Fed is not buying bonds. They are selling bonds to the tune of $50 billion a month. And this will add pressure to the home loan rates. I also think the U.S. government will be borrowing more in 2019, which will add supply to the markets, and the supply must be absorbed. If there's not enough buyers, that could cause pressure on the system, causing higher home loan rates. More supply and less demand equals higher rates in 2019. As I've shared earlier, I see stock stability and most likely higher mortgage rates in 2019. So I see the 10-year Treasury note trading between 2.75 and 3.25% for most of the year. However, I would not be surprised if we have a high tick at 3.5%. For a top-tier borrower securing a 30-year fixed mortgage, that would be in the range of 5 to 5.5% for most of 2019. Now is a great time to buy a home, and mortgage rates are less than what most parents or your grandparents got when they purchased their first home. Housing is predicted to appreciate in 2019 to the tune of 4%. I strongly encourage you to take a look at my winter home buyer guide called Things to Consider When Buying a Home. It's divided into 3 sections: what you need to know before you buy, what's happening in the housing market, and what to expect when you're buying a home. You can get this priceless information for free by going to www.martinibuyerguide.com. I'm Kevin Martini, and our family is your family lender.
The Martini Mortgage Group makes real estate dreams a reality with trusted advice in a stress-free environment with great rates and on-time closings while providing a world-class experience. If you or someone you know has questions about the current mortgage rates or the current mortgage programs, please reach out to the Martini Mortgage Group at 919-238-4934. The information contained in this podcast presentation is for general product information purposes only. Arklatex Financial Services, LLC, NMLS number 2143, doing business as Benchmark Mortgage, makes no representations or warranties of any kind expressed or implied about the completeness, reliability, suitability, or availability with respect to the information, products, or services. All loans subject to borrower qualifying. Other restrictions may apply. Branch Manager Kevin Martini, NMLS number 143962. Branch located at 5650 Six Forks Road, Suite 101, Raleigh, North Carolina 27609. Contact the branch by calling 919-238-4934. Equal housing opportunity.